There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello, BookTube. I'm Shawn, the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here with a very special guest, Kieran of KDBooks, and we are going to be talking all things Booker. I know you're probably shocked that Shawn, the Book Maniac,
shock horror,
talking about the Booker, but who better to talk about the Booker with than Kieran? So welcome to my channel, Kieran.
Thank you for having me.
You're about to ruin my reputation.
I know. I'm glad I'm the man who's been able to do that. I have a great sense of pride. I might even make myself a certificate and stick it on my wall. It's going to be great.
So yeah, I'm not a big book prize person, but I have to admit that this year the long list has intrigued me, and I've already picked up a few copies and I'm deep into Shuggie Bain, which I'm loving. I think you're a little bit further into it, so maybe we'll start with that, but I'm loving it, and I made a very audacious statement on my channel about a week ago that if Shuggie Bain wins the Booker this year, I will become a Booker groupie in 2021. I will read the entire long list, maybe not in time for the prize, but I will certainly read the entire short list before the prize is announced, if Shuggie Bain wins.
Honestly, I nearly piddled myself in excitement when I heard that. I don't think he's going to win, but you know what? I will happily, just for that, I will hope that Stuart wins.
Team Shuggie. Well, you've already ruined my reputation if you've telling me that I made you pee.
You gotta live life to the full, and if you can't piddle yourself with excitement over books, when can you do it?
Well, I won't answer that question, but let's carry on. So, have you always been a Booker person, followed the prize?
I would say the moment that I started properly following it was in 2017 when Lincoln and the Bardo came out, and you could not go into a bookshop without Lincoln and the Bardo being plastered everywhere. But it sounded like a really interesting book, and I read it, and it's okay. It's okay. It's not the best. I didn't think I should have won, but it kind of got me down a route of thinking, like, what books do I thoroughly enjoy, and realize that there was always that they had touched the Booker in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the moment where I kind of had, not like an epiphany, but definitely something like clicked to me going, oh, I think this is like the literary prize that I want to follow more so. So I kind of moved my attention from the women's prize more to the Booker at that stage. And I still dip in and out of the women's prize, but the Booker always captivates me.
Well, and I would support that. I think the women's prize is consistently bad. Their long list, and yeah, just terrible books on their list. I mostly read books written by women, but the books that are good never make it on the women's prize list.
I think that's because, and I only realized this, I think it was last year, and I'd be keen to see if it's still on the website. But the women's prize does state that the book doesn't actually have to be written well for it to be a nomination, which seems a little bit weird for a literary prize. It doesn't have to be the best written book. I know they do state that.
I think you misread it. I think what it says is the book must not be written well.
Oh, yeah, I had my glasses off on that occasion.
So no, I do have better luck with the Booker Prize winnings. I agree with you. Lincoln and the Bardo, I thought was overrated. I loved the central story about Lincoln and his son, and I found it really moving. And the way that he actually put in historical quotes that you couldn't tell if it was a quote or not. Like, that all worked for me. And I couldn't remember reading historical fiction that moved me as much as that did. But all those fucking ghosts, Jesus Christ.
It's very, I think the issue I had with Lincoln and the Bardo, it's very Monty Python and very slapstick. And that kind of like really detracts away from like these like beautiful moments of Lincoln.
I never would have put it that way, but that's brilliant. Yeah,
that's it. Just detracted, and yeah, like the bit where like his son like looks upon his dad at the tomb, is really touching. And then outside, you got ghosts falling over their engorged willies. And you're like, oh, okay, I suppose.
Jarring.
Yeah. But I don't enjoy Sanders. I went to look at his other works. And The Frightening Reign of Phil wasn't that good. Pastoralia, his short story collection, that was okay. But Fox 8 was very good. But it's like 40 pages long and written like a kid's like fable. But that was okay. But I don't think I'd be following Saunders.
What was the more recent short story collection?
10th of December.
That's right. I tried to read that twice and bailed both times. I couldn't connect with the short stories.
I think I've taken it out of my library 5 times. It's just gathered dust, and I've just given it back straight away. So,
do you have an opinion on whether Americans shouldn't have been let into the Booker, or where are you with all that?
Oh gosh, especially this year, there's loads of them. I think America is too much of like a powerhouse for it to be ignored, especially things that happen in America. So if you look at like this current time with George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, there's such a powerhouse that it does sweep across the globe.
Yeah.
I don't know if like a British author or someone like from other Commonwealth countries, which is kind of how the prize originally set up for, could do those topics justice, rather than someone like actually living there, which is why I'm glad Brandon Taylor's on this current list, because I think he does a really good job of encapsulating that moment, just how still that book is. And then you have Kylie Reid's Such a Fun Age. Let's gloss over that one.
I hear it's really bad, yeah.
It's not a book. If Such a Fun Age was on the women's prize, I don't think anyone would bat an eyelid.
So it must not be written well. That's what I've heard about it.
It's just very commercial. It feels like The Testaments. It will just suck a large group of people in. And I feel as though maybe there was a move on the book to think, well, if we can get loads of people buying into Such a Fun Age, reading it, they'll go, oh, let's give The Mirror and the Light a chance. Which is never going to happen. I can't imagine there'd be a crossover of those people. But I could be wrong. Been wrong many times before. But I do think it was kind of a continuation of what Atwood had done.
Oh, interesting. Now, but the other side of that argument would be that America is such a powerhouse that other voices are getting excluded from consideration for the Booker. Like, when was the last time, not to be too patriotic, but when was the last time a Canadian was on the list?
Margaret Atwood, last year she won it.
Oh, she's Canadian?
She's Canadian.
Okay, well, I'm not going to edit that out because I just leave it. That what an idiot I am. But aside from Margaret Atwood, which is how we all kind of consider our national literature, or from any Commonwealth country, Australia is almost never on the list.
Authors and nationalities I always struggle with. Who was on last year?
I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm kind of quoting other people that have critiqued the fact that the Booker, once the Booker let in America, it was all like British or American, and a lot of other countries where you never see them. So
yeah, there is a lot of American authors on this list.
Let's get to the long list. So you got lots to say. You got reading. So what's good? What's bad?
Should we go through like how I've read them in order? Would that be logical?
Yeah, do that.
Marvelous. I've got my big pile here. Let me sort this out. First one, which if we just get with like the bookie's favorite, is The Mirror and the Light by Hilary Mantel. This was great. Have you read Wolf Hall?
I am a huge fan of the first two. I love them.
Yes. This,
haven't read it. I have that exact edition. I haven't read it.
This is basically, I'm assuming everyone who's watching this does know this, but it's kind of like the final, like the demolition of Cromwell and like the destruction of him. But this, I think, hits like a really sweet spot between what Wolf Hall was trying to do and what Bring Up the Bodies was trying to do. And it's kind of like a synergy with like the difficulty of Wolf Hall as like a foundation text, and then the enjoyability of Bring Up the Bodies. But this was just like another level. Like the last chapter, which I think is like 7 pages, had me just like crying. Like the actual like death of Cromwell is done so well. And I knew it was going to be good because when Hilary Mantel visualized the idea, I can't remember where the interview was. I want to say it's in The Guardian, but she was packing her bags in a Sainsbury, like a local supermarket. I just started like crying to the cashier, and I went home and finished the novel, like the last few pages. How she kills him off is outstanding.
Oh.
To say like the extra 900 pages are worth it just to get to the last 7, because it's just breathtaking. I kind of want her to win. I don't think she's going to win.
You
I
don't?
don't think she's going to win. No. If J.M. Coetzee was on the list, I probably would be saying something different. But I don't think they're going to give it to Mantel.
A third time?
Because Coetzee would be also up for a third prize of winning it, because he won it with Life of Times of Michael Kay, which won the Booker in 83 or 87, Disgrace in 1999, and then The Death of Jesus in his end of the trilogy. So I thought if those two were paired up, that would be interesting. But I don't think she's going to win. It would seem too easy. And I think after the controversy of last year...
There was a controversy last year?
Oh, tell me about it. Honestly, I watched it live and I had money. On one book. And I nearly just cried myself to sleep that night after they said, there's 2 winners. And it was made illegal in 1992 when Barry Unsworth and Michael Ondaatje shared it. And they said, you can't do that anymore. And then apparently 5 judges drew. They couldn't split the vote between 5.
Yeah, like there was
judges.
An odd number of judges, so...
It was very 2019 of them to do that.
It was crazy. I lost more respect for the Booker when that happened, yes.
It was just a shame, and The Testaments wasn't the best book.
I hear it was absolutely terrible.
Will he be remembered? Yeah, like in the same way Go Set a Watchman is remembered for To Kill a Mockingbird. I had hopes. I put money on last year's Ducks Newburyport. I had the money on that. But it was Salman Rushdie, Key Shot, which I thought was just brilliant in all its maximalistic ways. As we know about me, I'm very much a Salman Rushdie fanboy. So anything he writes, I'll buy. I thought he would win it. But last year was just... We'll forget about it.
Yes.
We'll forget about it.
You're the first person I've talked to that liked Keisho, so that's interesting.
It's the Jiminy Cricket character that happens in it, and it sold me from that moment on. Because it's about a man who's kind of going a little bit psychotic, and then he imagines his son, Pancho, who's like a Pinocchio character, but the imaginary son has imaginary thoughts as well, and they all kind of like all interlink. Oh, it's amazing. It was definitely better than The Golden House, which he published in 2016. That was awful. That was the worst Salman Rushdie. We don't talk about The Golden House. Didn't exist.
Moving on.
So we recently finished... Burnt Sugar was the next one I read by Avni Doshi.
This one I bought because it sounded good, so I'll watch your review later, but I gathered that you kind of liked it.
It's better than Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie, which I now regard as like my all-time favorite book, and this has just topped it.
Wow.
It's so good. So she won a manuscript. So it goes by 2 names. So it was published in India originally in 2019 as Girl in White Cotton. But she won a manuscript award for it in 2013 or 2014. And it was like all set to be published. And then she spent 5 or 6 years to finish it. And it is so, it's not tight, it's kind of taut. And you kind of, as you're like pulling back the spool of it, you kind of see like everything unfold. The twists aren't obvious because it's playing a lot on people's memory. So you'll hear one side of the story and then one character will just say, but that didn't happen, you do know that. And there's a lot of pre-emergency era, post-emergency era India.
Sure.
And the fall of Bombay to Mumbai and that kind of is given like a backdrop and how everyone's memories are viewed. Incredible.
And I love the fact that she won an award for it and then continued to work on it for, what did you say, 6 more years?
Like 5 or 6 years.
I think we need to make a law that all writers should do that. So much of what gets published, it reads like a shitty first draft.
Yeah, as like a debut novel, I can't fault it. It's like a really well done God of Small Things. I will happily put that on a t-shirt and sell it, because God of Small Things was horrific. So
high five on that. There's one we totally agree on. That was awful.
It's like similar themes-ish, but just done like just so well.
You have completely, utterly sold me on that one.
I need to know your thoughts on the mother who has Alzheimer's, because so well. It's so well done.
That's awesome.
So well done.
Do you know I have a really bitchy review of God of Small Things?
It was it wasn't your first video. It was the Ministry of Utmost Happiness.
Yes. I'm so embarrassed. My very first review, and it was such a difficult book. Oh my God.
Because when I started BookTube, I obviously did Mirror of the Light first, and I wanted to do the God of Small Things, and I watched your video to kind of give me like a bit of oomph to like put my feet down and be like, I don't like this. So you might not like it, but it very much like paved the way of
Utmost Happiness
my
one?
channel. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Because I was like, okay, how do I tackle Arundhati Roy without just like saying how much I hated it? And I watched yours and I was like, okay, I got this.
But are you talking about my Utmost Happiness review or my God of Small Things review?
Utmost Happiness.
Okay, because I kind of liked that one, but I was really a new booktuber and didn't really know how to review books. Still learning.
Likewise.
But you might enjoy my bitchy thoughts on God of Small Things.
I then watched that after I uploaded
Oh, you
it.
did? Okay.
Yeah. This is the one I think will win.
Okay.
I will be so disappointed. If anyone tops this, I will be very surprised.
Okay.
We got Real Life by Brandon Taylor.
My copy just came in the mail yesterday.
Which I did my review for last week and realised I have a very left-wing approach to this book. I kind of like how I viewed it. Because I have a Discord for people to join and talk about all things Booker and just the long list. And most people on there were like, really? Like, that's what you got out of this book? So I'm happy with it.
So you basically liked it? Or quite liked it?
I did like it. I liked it. I liked what it was doing.
Uh-huh.
I don't believe Brandon Taylor intended for me to view it the way that I viewed it. If he did, I'd be very surprised. This is causing a lot of, not unease, it's very Marmite. People are either loving this or hating it. And I think it's just due to the fact it's only set over 3 days.
Okay.
So where people are saying, like, the characters aren't well defined, there's the other cohort going, well, how can you define someone over 3 days? It's very real life. Like, if you, this isn't spoiling anything in the book, but if you have an argument with someone, there might be a time where you just don't naturally meet up to speak to them for 2 days over a weekend. You might leave it till next week. Right. So there's a lot of that, but it's very subtle in what it does about systemic racism and views on Black people in academia. It's very subtle, but it's done so well that you feel everything. You know how Wallace, the main character, feels without it being like very spoon-fed to you. But I enjoyed this. I don't think it will age well, but I would recommend it. I would recommend it. What I wouldn't recommend, and I'm taking this as a tangent point, is this monstrosity, Such a Fun Age. What a dire novel. What a dire novel. This is like the working class version of this.
Okay.
Like, this is done like so well and so subtly this is just racism's wrong. And I'm like, well, I know that. And he goes, but it's wrong. And I didn't really like the conversation that comes from speaking to people about it is more interesting than the entire book.
Right.
It kind of like, yeah, bashes you over the head, but it's very, very force fed. But this is the book that I think this wants to be. I didn't like that at all.
The way that I tend to phrase this is the difference between commercial fiction and literary fiction, and I know those are loaded terms for some people, but not for me. There's a boundary between them that I police.
This is commercial. It got the Reese Witherspoon book club pick, and that's good. Like, this isn't going to be chosen for it, but it's just chalk and cheese. It's interesting having these two on the list to kind of have like a direct comparison.
Sure.
Because they're so similar in what they're trying to say in the message that comes across. I think Kylie Reid's only on there to attract a wider audience because it's done so well. But if that makes the shortlist, I will be giving up on Booker. I'll be doing the opposite to you.
I can't resist the chance to take a little dig. At least they didn't nominate a graphic novel.
No, I wanted a graphic novel on this list so badly. Oh, did you read Sabrina by Nick Drasno?
No, I don't mind graphic novels. They'd have no place on a Booker. You got their own. Honestly, got their own prizes. Just like it wasn't there Sabrina, a mystery too. There was a mystery on it that same year. It was just like, what the hell?
That was happened? Snap. That was Snap.
Oh,
that was only because Val McDermott was on the judging panel, and I think they appeased her. But no, Nick Drasno's Sabrina is like the best depiction of social media pressure I've ever come across.
I haven't read it. There's no reason for me to disbelieve you, but it's a completely different animal. It has no place on a literary prize.
Out of curiosity, based on that, I know this is probably, you wouldn't expect this. How did you feel? You don't follow the prize, but there was like a prose. It was more like a poem. It was the long take. Do you think that has a place?
I don't have a problem with that because it's still literary. So it's not that kind of genre. I mean the different genres of fiction. Like mystery novels, that's a lower form of literature. It has no place on a literary prize, and graphic would be the same. Graphic may be not a lower form, but it's a different form, and I assume they have their own prizes, and when they start putting literary fiction, prose fiction on their prize list, then maybe I will be okay with, but like, no, separate. It's different. I'm such a
I have
snob.
so many graphic novels, and like, it's just a stab in my heart. Especially as my daughter might be named after one of my favorite graphic novels, like of all time. That I have never cried, laughed, been angry and happy, like so much, like one graphic novel. But we digress. It's called Saga by Brian K. Vaughan.
Okay, I know of that one. I don't.
It's so like modern, and it touches on everything like so well. Oh, so good. Oh.
Try it.